Good evening, everybody. I'm Stu the Frugal Video Gamer, and welcome back to The Life and Suffering of Sir Brante. I decided to go with the mic tonight because I noticed that it really wasn't getting picked up on the webcam too well. I might have to look into that a little bit. The family expects more and more of you as you grow up. The teachers and tutors hired by your father keep you on your toes all the time. Your life these days is dedicated to studying for your future, for the future of the Brante family. Your younger brother Nathan keeps growing up too. He can hold a conversation now. Never refuse him when he comes to play, provided you have a bit of free time between your demanding lessons. It is a rainy day today. Father and mother have gone to a ball, and they left Nathan in your care. You lose track of time over the books in the sitting room, and Nathan goes off alone to splash in the creek. Soon you hear his voice begging you to come outside. He's on the porch, sobbing, all covered in dirt. You walk up to him as he continues to bawl. It's all that kid. He pushed me into the ditch and called me names. He said I was a fancy pants fool. I said I'll call my brother. He's still there. You have to go punish him, Stuart. Nathan points at a lopsided wooden house further down the street where the poorer artisans live. You see two boys lingering there on the porch. They are clearly both commoners, but far from poor. One of them is almost as tall as Nathan, and he frowns in a funny way, just like him. The other looks older, almost your age, but he is more broad-shouldered and taller. His name is Thomas. You've heard it before. There, Stuart, that's him! Nathan points at the younger boy and hides behind your back. Thomas grins and rolls up his sleeves to reveal strong forearms. He must have been helping his father with manual labor for quite some time. Listen up, rich boys. We don't give a damn about you or your friendship. We won't let anybody call our home a stinking rat hole. Your little brother earned his ditch dive. Maybe next time he'll dress normal and stop picking fights with people who can throw him in the mud. Your hands clench into fists before you react. Nathan called them names first. No wonder they did the same. That's how it goes. Pushing your brother into a ditch is too much. Thomas stands tall and confident. He sees no threat in you. You're about to get ready for a fight when you feel a tug on your sleeve. You turn your head to see Nathan, the one who started this whole mess. I'll listen to him first. Nathan keeps tugging on your sleeve, harder and harder. Finally, you turn and look at him. Don't fight him, please. Look, he's huge. Let's go home. Who cares about them? You're all sweaty. You can listen to your litter brother and walk away like a coward? All you rich boys are chickens. You do nothing but squawk, but when push comes to shove, you run home to mommy. Now he's done it. Your patience has run out. You swing at Thomas, and he jumps back, surprised by your assault. It takes him a moment to compose himself, but now he is ready. His fists cover his face, and he attacks you with a quick jab. Now it's your turn to take a step backward. You start trading blows, huffing and puffing with rage. The younger brothers gawk and awe at the sight. Thomas does not resort to fancy moves, dirty tricks, or stupid taunts. He displays nothing but skill learned in many a street fight, and his heavy fists aim for your head. You keep dodging him again and again, trying to reach him. He takes a couple of glancing blows, but easily shakes them off. What a bruiser. You start swinging your fists with greater fury. Your heart is pounding like a hammer. You see nothing but the foe in front of you. How much longer will this take? You're worn out. Your breath grows ragged and your muscles grow heavy. But there's no way you can give up now. Nathan is watching you. Desperate and out of options, you swing and punch Thomas square in the nose, then immediately let his fist smack you in the temple. The blow rings through your head like a bell and blinds you for a moment. The world swims before your eyes. You clutch at your heads to get your bearings. Thomas is standing in front of you, blood dripping from his nose. You no longer want to fight it out, and it seems your opponent would rather end it too. But you keep standing there, eyeing each other angrily. Then, suddenly, you hear an angry shout right next to you. An enraged man in a craftsman apron is shaking his fist. Thomas's face contorts in terror right away. It's my father! Run! Punishment for fighting is flogging, and the mere prospect of that makes you run like the wind. Thomas sprints in front of you. You dash across the rotten wooden planks of the back alley, up and over a lopsided fence, across a giant puddle in one leap, and then forward into the tall grass. You hide there and stay quiet. You hear no sounds of pursuit. You exchange glances with Thomas and start laughing. His laughter is loud and infectious, but soon he cuts it short and grows sadder. I'm gonna get flogged anyways. My dad's always quick to give me a beating. And then he'll start nagging me about the lot and the prayers for days like he always does. Why do I always get myself mixed up with this stuff? Fighting's the only way to prove you're worth anything, right? Adults didn't see you fighting, you tell him, so all you have to do now is convince them you weren't. Nosebleeds happen, right? Mother gets nosebleeds all the time. Well, we could try it. Let's hope our little brothers don't tell on us. I'll talk to mine. There's a scratch on your head. Don't let them see it. Good thing I didn't hit you in the face. There, good as new. You assure him that Nathan will never tell. And in return, you'll make sure he behaves himself so he won't get tossed into a ditch again. With that, you shake hands with Thomas. His handshake is as strong as you would expect based on his fists. You make your way out of the tall grass. You need to leave before Thomas's father goes to your family and complains about you breaking your lot. You come to a realization on the way back. You had no idea the place where you were hiding even existed, and it wasn't too far from home. Thomas smiles in excitement when he hears this. Oh, I know lots of places like that. Tell you what, if we get out of this mess today, I'll show you the way to the old fortress wall. It's the perfect place to build your own fort. Direct a bunch of wooden planks there. Too bad it's no fun to build all alone. My brother never helps, he just gets in the way. You emerge from the muddy back alleys united by a secret only the two of you know. It seems you've made a friend today. Huh. Oh, nice. Oh, very nice. And I can go up to 30. You have met a friend, a boy named Thomas. Another year passes into adolescence, so 9, 10... I'm guessing it'd be like 16 when I get out of adolescence. It is blistering hot today, even for the sun-parched lands of Bagra. As soon as you are done with your studies, you dash outdoors and out of the stuffy room. You and Thomas roll up your shirt sleeves, but it barely helps. You would gladly go shirtless had you only been in the company of other boys. But there are 3 girls in the yard today. They are doing the laundry in a big wash tub, whispering and giggling. If you could, you would gladly keep watching one of them at work. She has big eyes of deep blue. Her dark hair is braided, and her plain gray dress is mended and patched all over. Her name is Sophia. She throws her head back a little when she laughs. The rays of the sun are reflected in her eyes. You, Thomas, and the other boys keep telling silly stories. Anything to make her laugh. You sure love telling tall tale stories. Oh, I remember this one time. Then Sophia hears a voice calling her home. She nods to you and runs across the street smiling. Her light steps carry her forward, but her eyes are looking elsewhere. Then a stone on the road catches her foot. She stumbles and falls flat into the dust. The street shows shaking with thunder and hooves. Riders appear on the road from around the corner. They bear a coat of arms you recognize right away. A sable serpent blade upon a field of vert. It symbolizes the Melanidas dynasty, the family of your province's archduke. The horses dash forward. A lost wooden toy on the road cracks under their hoofs. They will not slow down. They are the nobles, and the rest must make way for them. Sophia is in their way, just now starting to get back on her feet. Well, I'm glad, Her mother is crying for her desperately from behind the fence door. You freeze in terror. The riders surely see the girl. Are they going to stop, or are they going to trample her? In a few moments, the beautiful girl will be toppled, trampled, and crushed. Shield her. You throw yourself blindly into the road, swinging your arms wildly. Dazed by the sound of the thundering hooves, you can see nothing in the dust. For a brief moment, the horses slow down, just long enough for Sophia to get back on her feet and flee to the roadside. Then the riders dig their spurs in. Your bones crack, break, and crumble. Your ears are ripped apart by the thundering rhythm of the tide, of the ride. Your innards are pulverized. The last thing you remember is the sound of your own skull caving in. Jesus! Impenetrable darkness surrounds you. You stand alone, bare to your very essence. It paralyzes you. You have an urge to cover yourself, to hide. No one should see you so vulnerable. But you cannot conceal the truth in this place. You are bathed in an unbearably bright light. It has no hint of warmth in it. It is blinding. It leaves no shadows in the entire world. It is the light of the shining pillar itself. In this radiance, you can clearly see all your thoughts and doubts, your errors and transgressions, the contradictions that have permeated you since birth. They cover you from head to toe like rough gray tatters, but they melt away in this light. You are naked. You feel liberated and whole. It is as though all the wounds and cracks in your soul have been healed, making it all the way it should be. It is as though the scales have fallen from your eyes. You see the true shape of things now. These are the laws by which the world abides, the grand design that moves life itself. You tread a path that is barely visible in the blinding light, giving shape to everything. In this light you see the infinite complexity of the world, from the tiniest leaf to the enormity of the empire. And this world maintains its balance by virtue of the law that was embedded in it during the act of creation. Ahead of you, two figures are waiting on the path. They are gigantic, many times taller than a man. The elder holds a lash, the younger a sword. The younger gazes at you sternly, coldly. You kneel obediently before him and lower your head. The god raises a sword above you. This is divine retribution. There is no law without it, nor can there be. Every action has consequences. This is what shapes the world, making its very existence possible. In this moment, beneath the gaze of the merciless god, you can comprehend the law that binds the entire world together. Which manifestation of the law will you live by? You know what? Yeah. The nobles didn't care one fucking bit. And it's by these guys' design. The blade flashes. The younger sword slashes through the air above your head. You do not yet deserve your final punishment. The law demands that you continue your life. Your form has not been completely destroyed, nor has that of the world. The younger extends his gigantic hand and shows you the way. You must proceed. The path leads you to the top of the crown of the silver tree, spread wide in the white gleam. The branches are closed now. It is time to descend. You are drawn downward into darkness. The shadows that have disappeared in the blinding glow creep around you and envelop you. This is to be expected. But the purity and clarity of spirit are still with you. Something is forcing your throat open. Air. It scratches you on the inside. Your soul is filled with struggle again, with the contradictions from which the fabric of this world and you yourself are woven. The divine light that gave you clarity is fading away with each passing moment. You have to open your eyes. Above you is the dark ceiling of the crypt. You are reborn. Should be interesting. Then you can feel again. You sense your body, head, arms, and legs. The light fades around you, obedient before a will that is stronger than you. You return to the world. Such is the law of the twins. You will return to the world until the time of your true death, and in this world you will have a body with which to feel pain and suffering and pleasure. You smell a sickly, moist odor. You open your eyes and see the figures of mother and father in the gloom of the family crypt, speaking to each other quietly. They stop as soon as they hear you gasp. Mother runs to you and locks you in an embrace as father wraps you in his cloak. Neither of them says a word as they lead you out to the surface and back home. You've met a terrible end, my son. You were trampled by those horses. Don't be so careless ever again. The lives you were granted by the twin gods are not to be wasted so recklessly. You would be punished for this, but the twins have already meted out their punishment. Why would I be punished for that? Or are we talking the parents punishing me for being such an idiot? Which, yeah, fair. You tremble, your steps unsteady as you learn how to move again. Your body is eerily smooth, fresh, and renewed. Even the recent scars and scratches are all gone. But there is something new on it. A fresh black mark, a reminder of your lesser death beneath those hooves. Remember that by the twins' mercy, we are all given enough time in this world. Should you die before your time, you will be brought back by their grace. For 3 times they will rescue you from a terrible fate. But the 4th death is the true and final for all. Every loss of a life we were granted at our birth is a heavy blow to us. But the gods told us to not to mourn a lesser death, and so we will humbly accept this and move on. See, your body is reborn anew with all your wounds healed. Do not mourn your loss of life, my son, but thank the twin gods for their justice. Do not speak of this. Do not ever play by the road again if you wish to keep on living. You cautiously go back outside the next day. Children from the neighborhood surround you. They all saw you get trampled, and now they all ask you the same question. What was it like to die? Thomas rescues you from their pestering. He pushes the motley crew aside, hugs you, and pats you on the back. Look at you, buddy! You gave an entire life to keep a girl safe. Then you see Sophia. She is standing nearby, shyly working up the courage to walk over to you. Soon she finally approaches you and begins speaking rapidly. Stuart, why did you throw yourself in front of those horses? My life isn't worth any more than yours, so why did you think that? You weren't supposed to die there. It was all those riders' fault. They deserve to die, not you. Her voice rises to a shriek. She suddenly stops and runs back home. You stay where you are, watching her run, the golden rays of the sun dancing in her braided hair. Yeah. Huh. Nice. You saved the local girl named Sophia from lesser death. And trampled is the achievement. Yep. So, looks to be 16 is the final year. Sophia disappeared after the terrible incident with the horses. Her friends gossip that her parents sent her off to serve a rich, noble dynasty. You haven't seen each other since that day, but you still remember Sophia's eyes, the sunlight shining in them. But no matter what, life goes on. You are 10 years old now. Your studies continue and you are learning more about the land you live in. Anazalt is an ancient city in an imperial province by the name of Magra. All soil in Magra was turned to ash eons ago, scorched by magic during the rebellion of Duke Char Melanidas. Char's a little on the nose. The magical arts are all but gone now, but the scorched earth has remained barren and infertile ever since. Since then, the entire province has lain barren, tormented by cold and scorching winds in equal measure, with few precious plants taking root on their own. All fertile land in Magra is brought elsewhere, and brought here by an endless caravan of carts and carriages. To pay for food and soil, the cities of Magra became skilled in many trades, primarily mining and digging for metals and stone. Last fall there was an explosion just outside the city, followed by clouds of thick smoke. The first such incident frightened the citizens, but then explosions and smoke became an everyday occurrence. Soon everyone grew used to it. Father explains that the miners are using a new invention called gunpowder. It makes it easier for them to reach the precious stones and metals buried deep within the earth. Then one day a thunderous explosion rocks the city. Black billowing smoke covers the houses. People are stuck in their homes, all windows tightly shut. The air is impossible to breathe. Nathan coughs all the time. Gloria and you cough only when nobody is watching. If Mother hears it, she'll make you inhale those hot herbal vapors just like Nathan. It takes 2 days for the black smoke to disperse. People pour out into the streets to meet their friends. Thomas is eager to share everything he knows about this incident with you. It took lots of burnt-up people to the city temple. Mom told me she was helping the healers. There are many rumors. Some claim it was the work of a beast stirred from its slumber, while others say it's the surviving witches that continue to threaten the Order and the Empire with their accursed powers. But as for you, you patiently wait for Father to come back home, and then you'll ask him about it. His father spends day and night working in the prefecture, while Mother spends all her time in prayer. It takes a full week for Father to finally come home, and he's almost completely spent. You muster enough courage during dinner to ask him what happened outside the city. Father raises his head, his face a bleak, weary mask, and starts muttering his proclamation. It's almost as if he doesn't see you. It's the mine outside the city. They were trying to get her to a vein of ore. There was an explosion. The mine caved in and the black smoke started flowing. Many workers died there. It was all because Count El Velasco, who owns the mines, wanted them to start mining that vein before they were ready. Some of the workers weren't even reborn. Perhaps the twins thought their final time had come. The prefecture has been inundated with complaints from families that have lost their breadwinners, asking the judges for help. Many people also lost their cattle as the black smoke. Count El Velasco blames gunpowder for the disaster. The prefecture and the newspapers just repeat whatever he says. But it's plain old greed and tyranny of noblemen that are to blame. Why is the welfare of our province always paid for with commoner lives? Then, without warning, he grows silent again. You came thinking about it for days. Can a human life really end so easily? A single moment of bad luck and you die, only to re-emerge from the temple of the family crypt with a new black mark on your arm. Or worse, you remain where you fell, dead, never to be reborn again. Ever. Yep. Got a feeling that's a static effect. During lunch, Father tells you to stay home in the evening and prepare to meet some important guests. I'm gonna adjust the... There we go. Your elder brother Stefan will return home by dinner tonight. Joining him will be your grandfather Grigor Brante, as well as a noble friend of the family. You're excited about your brother's return. It has been years since you last saw him. How has he changed during his years away from home? Oh god, this is gonna go fucking horribly. You and Father await the guests anxiously. The doorbell rings. 3 people are standing outside. Grandfather is the first to come in. Naturally. He has not changed a bit since his last visit, still eyeing the house with contempt, looking for any reason to demean it. Grandfather is followed by a stately young man dressed in a jacket embroidered in silver, whom you barely recognize as your brother. Stefan casts a glance at your threadbare clothes, your dirty fingernails, and smirks. The last to enter the house is a personable gentleman with a worn-out, wrinkled face. You have heard a lot about this man from Father and Grandfather. He is Baron Augustin Elborn, Stefan's uncle, a family friend of the province's prefect, which means that he is the head judge and thus Father's superior. Sir Elborn smiles lightly and offers you his hand. This must be your younger son, Stuart, yes? Younger Father's eyes, young man. Father bows slightly to Grandfather and Sir Elborn. There is a moment of quiet when Stefan's turn comes. Father reaches out to him awkwardly, expecting an embrace. There's a question in Stefan's eyes as he looks at Grandfather. The old man shakes his head almost imperceptibly. We noblemen often put our emotions on public display, Father. Not even after a lengthy separation. There is no embrace. Instead, Stefan nods to Father curtly. He responds in kind, his face devoid of emotion. After the greeting, you proceed to the sitting room. Elborn is the first to enter. He kisses Mother's hand, and Gloria's too, and tussles Nathan's hair after he sees him hiding by the table. Grandfather acknowledges them with a glum nod. Greetings, Lydia Brante. I remember you were kind to me when I was but a child. And you must be Nathan. You could barely walk when I saw you last. Your elder brother ignores Gloria completely. Not even a greeting. Proceed to the dining room in a dignified manner and take your seats. The dishes smell delicious, but they merely punctuate the overwhelming tension at the table. Elborn is the only one with a friendly smile on his face. Sorry about that, needed to wet the whistle. The dinner is splendid, Lydia. Did you choose the dishes yourself? You have a truly refined palate. It warms my heart to know Stefan spent his early years with you. Womanly care always does a child good, no matter the estate. Your fork freezes in the air halfway to your mouth. You expect many things from a noble of the sword, but words of praise for a low-born woman are not one of them. You cast a glance at grandfather. It looks like he was about to choke on those words. It would do my grandson more good to stay at boarding school among his equals. Please, Gregor, parenting is no less important. Nothing can replace a mother's love, I cannot deny it. It saddens me greatly that my late sister could not be there to raise Stefan. But there was still a family for him, as he was surrounded by love. How could that be bad? Besides, his father was by his side all the while. A father's example is always the best. After all, Robert earned the judge's rank the same way you did. Your grandson will surely follow in your footsteps. And who knows, perhaps even the younger men of the Brante family will contribute to the— You clumsy, low-born cretin! Everybody is startled by the sudden outburst. Grandfather's face turns red. He is glaring at a young lady servant, holding a picture over a glass. Stefan is sitting right next to her, dabbing a napkin on a fresh stain on his jacket. Begone this instant! The lady servant runs away, leaving the picture on a small table by the door. After a quiet moment, Elborn smiles again. It appears the servants have left us, yet dinner is far from over. Worry not, Uncle. There are enough commoners at this table to keep us served with food and drink. Jesus! Stefan glares at Gloria across the table. She is sitting right next to you. She shrinks down and hunches over under his gaze. Father furrows his brows. Mother covers her mouth with trembling hands. Grandfather sneers. Stefan's gaze does not move. The silence lasts far too long. Then she starts to rise from her chair. If the Brante gentleman so wish it. Your hands clench into your fists under the table. How can he bring himself to humiliate his own family, his own mother and sister like this? It is all grandfather's doing. Stefan could not even bring himself to embrace father without his permission. And yet they are noblemen, and they have the right to act this way. If there is any way this dinner can become even more unbearable, you do not want to see it. Yeah. I'm joining her. You deliberate for a moment, then take the napkin off your lap and rise to join Gloria. A moment later, you hear the sound of another chair moving. Your mother joins you. The three of you now refill glasses, serve food, and clear away dirty dishes. Sir Elborn tries to make small talk with father, but in vain, so he focuses his attention on grandfather and Stefan. Grandfather is pleased to inform him of Stefan's achievements at the boarding school, especially his exemplary sword-fighting skills. He constantly stresses the importance of your older brother for the future of the family. You listen to him dispassionately as you continue serving new dishes at the table. As you wait at the nobleman's table, you, your sister, and mother never bump into each other. Your labor is impeccable. Grandfather could not have found fault with it even if he tried. Your shoulders and back are aching, but being a manservant inside your own house hurts even more. When the guests finally leave, Mother and Gloria embrace you with relief. You do not neglect your relatives and share their humiliation. The composure that you have shown gave you new strength. Nice! There we go. "11 years. Get another drink. Hot, dry wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands around it. The noble residents of Anazalt prefer to remain in their chambers, while the commoners huddle in tents under the shade of the silver tree. You are on an errand right now. Your father wrote a letter to a noble acquaintance, and you are to deliver it. Thomas, the boy down the street, is tagging along. The two of you are inseparable now. The errand is an easy one, so you decide to take this opportunity to loiter around the part of Anazalt where the nobles live. So here you are, in the middle of the city square, resting on the ancient brickwork by the old fountain in the merciful shade of the gargantuan silver tree. Thomas is by your side, lazily slouching on the edge of the fountain's basin. this. Wait. That's Char's last name. Him I'll go with. Hey, there we go. It's a hard life for commoners like you and me. Either you break your back in a workshop day and night, hoping someone will buy your goods someday, or you become a manservant to some noble. You never get a chance to enjoy life. This is our lot, you remind him. We work and endure and suffer. But Thomas waves your words away. Yeah, I know all that already. Mother keeps drilling that stuff into me. We must be humble, our strength is patience and persistence. So yeah, I say, but I want to make my fortune no matter what. So how ain't that living by my lot, I ask you? But the lots, they ain't easy. Just like you, for example, Brante. Your father's a nobleman, but even if that didn't make you one, just look at your hands. You never had to work as hard as me, but we have the same lot, so we're supposed to suffer the same fate. Or look at your father. He's a judge. He toils at the prefecture day and night doing his judging, and he's a noble? I've never seen an Archnean work as hard as he does. You shrug. The Archneans are a different race. The books say they were born to rule over humans. They were never commoners, always nobles of the sword by birth. They founded the empire after subduing all the human kingdoms on the continent. Humans will never be their equals. Archneans are always better, smarter, stronger, and their skin is a noble shade of blue. If the books are to be believed, of course. You have never seen one yourself. Your idle chatter is suddenly interrupted by a rugged-looking guardsman dressed in black and green. He chases you away from the fountain. Common rabble like you have no place here. You hear the clattering of hooves and wheels against the cobblestones and see flags bearing a coat of arms. A sable servant on a field of vert. It makes you squirm. It is the Archduke's coat of arms, the Milanidis dynasty. The carriage door opens, revealing a young lady in a luxurious dress. You cannot look away from her. Those dainty shoulders, suggested but not revealed by the cut of her dress, her black hair cascading over them, her stately slim silhouette, her pouty lips and prim nose, and those eyes, dark like the night sky, the way she moves, fluidly, gracefully. And most of all, her skin glows in azure blue. She is a masterpiece given life. She is an Archnean. Clear the way for me! The Milanidis guardsmen work quickly to clear the way to the fountain for the Archnean lady. The searing sun dances on her skin in bizarre patterns. With one elegant motion, she reveals a handkerchief, then leans over the basin and wipes her head and neck with its cool water. Well, I'll be! That's Octavia Milanidis, our Archduke's own daughter. The Archnean turns away and proceeds gracefully back to her carriage. You see something slip out of her hand and fall onto the cobblestones right next to you. Her handkerchief. It is right there by your feet. Intricate craftsmanship. Yeah, that's an obvious one. Intricate craftsmanship, expensive woven fabric, delicately decorated with emerald filigree. Your heart skips a beat. Will you dare draw the beautiful Archnean's attention in order to return her lost possession? Or would you rather not attempt to cross the chasm between you and her? I'll give it a try. It takes a moment to overcome your fear. You follow the young lady Milanidis and call out to her in a nervous voice. She turns around, her beautiful face marred by a puzzled expression. You extend the dropped handkerchief towards her. Lady Octavia's face contorts into a sneer. She signs to the guardsman indifferently. The guardsman's gauntlet-clad hand slaps you in the face. It rings your head like a heavy bell. Your nose cracks obediently under the staggering force. The rest of you follow suit and you fall prone. You can discern the guardsman's voice through the painful din in your ears. Should I take the handkerchief back, lady? After a commoner's hands have befouled it, let him wipe himself with it for all I care. The carriage drives away. Thomas runs up to you and drags you back to the fountain. Your head is still ringing from the blow. The fateful handkerchief is still crumpled in your hand. Yeah, that's about right. Well, wait a minute. Seriously? I figured Sophia would be the first romantic feeling, given I literally gave my life for her. 12 years old. Okay, another world event. 12 years old now, you overhear an important conversation. It is a spring night, and Mother has just sent everyone to bed. You walk past Grandfather's study and hear voices coming from beyond the door. Grandfather is yelling, and Father is replying quietly. The other Brante men are fighting, arguing about the place of the commoners in the city. You sneak outside to avoid Mother's attention and hide next to the open window of the study. Perhaps they'll mention you, too. That lowlife idiot had the gall to pay me a visit and beg me for some service. He had the insolence to ask me outright. He thought I was going to support his claim for the chairman's seat in the lesser quorum. How dare he? Father, please listen. Mayor Eggman may be lowborn, but he carries a lot of clout in Magra. He owns 5 iron mines. A friend like him could be quite useful should he become the chairman of the lesser quorum. I don't give a damn about who this Eggmont is, Robert. What he is, however, is lowborn. His lot is humility and obedience. The likes of him can never rule anything. They're nothing but a flock of sheep that need a firm, noble hand to guide them. I wasted so many years trying to quash that quorum decree. But that accursed Cornelius Tempest did everything in his power to make the Emperor sign the pathetic screed. Now even lowlifes can wield power. True power, Robert. Just the right to discuss the size of the Archduke's tax, nothing more. That is only the beginning! What's next? Are they going to arm the lowlifes now? Make them into judges? If the Empire rejects the foundations and the laws, the entire edifice will crumble. Who am I telling this to? It's already crumbling, and you, my son and heir, are a harbinger of its destruction. Father, I'm begging you. I do not wish to marry a 3rd time. Lydia is a good wife and a dutiful mother to my children. If you would only allow her to... I will allow them nothing! Neither Eggmont nor that freeloading wench of yours. What will you want me to do next? Live by the laws of the lowborn? I can already see where this is going, and I'd rather run my own sword through my gut than live in a country where nobles and lowlifes share the same rights. My only dream is to see the name of Brante in the Blue Book, but that dream will never come true. They will never call me Venerable El Brante, and it's all because of this marriage of yours. My only hope now is to hear Stefan addressed in such manner one day. Thank the twins I didn't let you ruin the boy. He's about to grow up a true nobleman. His children will bear the name of El Brante. You have 2 more grandsons. Those spineless milksops from the common lot? They're incapable of anything. The best your middle son can do is sneak into the Imperial College and get ennobled by the mantle, although I have grave doubts about even that. As for that untrodden Nathan, I hold out no hope for him whatsoever. You hear Grandfather's heavy footsteps, the thudding of his cane, and the slamming of the door. It's time to sneak back inside before you're discovered. Oh boy. That's... The fact that Reign of Terror is on there is, not a good sign. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the books, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you. Sir Thibault's School for the Children of Noblemen and Well-Off Commoners. Naturally, it is not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend Thomas. Sir Thibault's School, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop is toiled day and night for years to save for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcadian design. The classrooms are tall and spacious with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless Thomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day, Father asks you about your studies. You have already told him twice how Magra joined the Empire and how the Nobles' Court of Honor is different from the Commoner's Civil Court in the city prefecture. But Father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. it is time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind, for you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You have locked yourself away in your room. It is already getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There is a nagging thought in your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who lived next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue the friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either you speak first or he runs away. But this time he actually says something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Stuart? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. But Thomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? This might actually be one of the hardest decisions I've had to make this chapter. I'm gonna accept his help. You cannot help but pay attention to your brother's quiet, weak voice. You push the books away. Nathan runs to you and wraps his arms around your legs. I should just leave you alone. I don't want you to get sick. Warmth emanates from his hands. You feel the burden of the responsibilities thrust upon you fall from your shoulders. At last you realize something. You can make your own decisions rather than submitting to the will of others. You would laugh at this realization and feel a new spring in your step. Nathan laughs with joy when he feels this. He takes your hand and pulls you outside. So... I'm trying to figure out how literal or figurative that is. You've studied enough. You spend the rest of the evening playing with your little brother, teaching him how to build a watchtower out of wooden planks, sticks, and old drags behind the house. Nathan's success in construction leaves much to be desired, unlike his skill in covering himself with mud. Still, he is absolutely overjoyed. The morning comes. You barely have time to wake up before you're walking to the menacing edifice of the school. The entire day is a constant flow of questions demanding answers. You give satisfactory responses on law and history, although you are somewhat confused by the many technicalities and chronological orders. Your knowledge of the interpretations of the lots leaves much to be desired. Your parents are dissatisfied with your performance. You know that you could have worked harder. Still, you believe yesterday was not a waste. Oh, wow! Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize that there is a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Darknian gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Steward? You already have an answer ready. The latter status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arachneans, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the Empire. They own landed estates, they fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin Elborn, for example. Father passed you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Arachneans in their status? What have you learned about them? The Arachneans stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arachnean tells you and never defy them. Ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire and the Legion, or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son. All in due time. I will say, great sound design, great graphic design. I mean, this is a really good game. I'm absolutely going to have to rate it 5 stars. Sir Tibur's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here. And every passing day, the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time, the bully leading them is Diedrich, the son of the secretary for the Imperial Chancellery and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Diedrich and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again, you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again, Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. You wave Thomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucket full of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Diedrich and his entourage. There is familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he seat next to decent folk? Thomas clenches a fist. You're dead, Diedrich! He throws himself at Diedrich's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expect, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diedrich sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diedrich readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners? Your father's a noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind, your equals, not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down as he struggles furiously. Jesus. The other students are watching you, frozen in fear. Diedrich haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. What will you do? That would be overstepping my station. I want to turn that on, I really do. Ah, okay. I think I figured out where this is gonna come into play. Yeah, I'll admonish him. You make a speech, not to the lead bully himself, but rather to his retinue. How come Diedrich sees himself fit to instigate fights? His family may be higher in rank, but like everyone else here, he has yet to take the nobleman's sacrament himself. The nobleman's lot is not yet his, so he is not yet fit to fight or rule. Nor are any of you. The twin gods are watching over us, you add, and they are ever vigilant. Do you dare defy their will? Dietrich tries to retort. They've broken no laws, he says. All they've done is teach commoners the meaning of suffering. You call upon the knowledge gained from your theology lessons and easily pick his argument apart. Every man's first duty is to follow his lot, and Dietrich and his friends lack the humility to accept that they are not yet true nobles. The hands holding Thomas down grow weak. There's a whisper among the students around you. You're right. The twins are always watching how we follow the lots. Dietrich's retinue quickly dissolves in embarrassment. He furiously orders them to come back and join his cause, but his exhortations are all in vain. The other boys are clearly impressed by your words. The noble children would think twice before acting out again. Yeah, I saw that coming. 13, 14. Yep, 16 years old is when it'll end on that one. Silver Tree. Your theology teachers tell you more about Adolescence. It is more than just the provincial capital, it is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred silver tree. This enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today, you will be taking your first trip to the silver tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon, you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Adolescence. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are homes of paupers, day laborers, and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you towards the temple. They seem at peace despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with this divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There is a crowd there. Pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in separate small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upwards at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with the desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver-white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path. It should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She is wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Matilda, a preacher from Rustinia. What she says next shakes you to your very core. Just a second. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins. Yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you will find only the lies about the lots, the erring words of Prophet Isaiah sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives know that they were never so much as mention the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Matilda, or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There's just a bit of color on her cheeks, too. But then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her. She's dangerous. Come to the temple with me. Only there will you see the truth. You stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying... Oh, damn, I never got that in the first one. And each of them expects you to follow her. I'm gonna approach the tree. The tree is beautiful. The silver-white foliage stretches and spreads towards the sky, held aloft by a trunk so thick it would be a challenge to walk around it. The leaves rustle and whisper peacefully in the wind. The tree, it seems to speak to you. You walk away from the odd-looking preacher and the young acolyte, ignoring them as they call out to you. You walk around the temple in the crowd of people, getting closer to the tree with every step. Then you extend a shaking hand and touch the bark. It is unusually warm. You can feel a pulse beneath the roots. The tree is alive. The roots are so gigantic they form large grottos, spaces of air embraced by the roots in the ground. You squeeze into one of those grottos. It is unusually bright and quiet, shielded from the noise of Anazat. Right now, there is only you and the tree. You sit down. There are leaves rustling all around you. The only noise you hear is the beating pulse of life that flows through the tree. This pulse beats in time with your own heart. You feel clarity and calmness, free of doubt and frustration. The tree speaks to you. Or are they your own thoughts, so strange, unfamiliar, and eye-opening? These thoughts speak of soothing love, and of crystal-clear law, and of love and law intertwining to bring the miracle of life to you. You stop slouching, and your frown becomes a light smile. Hours pass like fleeting seconds. You lose track of time until you overhear someone shouting your name. Alas, it is time to leave the grotto. The sun is setting over Anazat now. The day was quick to pass. Your teacher frowns, ready to scold you. You mumble an explanation and say you were ready to be punished for disobedience. Yet instead, the teacher nods in understanding. You keep looking back at the tree all the way home. Whatever happened to you today, you find it difficult to put into words. Another school day has ended. You are making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers. The founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty, the 3 estates, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression still shows great concern. You were left on a trip to several distant migrant towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join your mother in a prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them in their greater zen and barely audible whisper. You repeat after her just as she has taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Stuart, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family. Difficult things. It's about your father and me. About our marriage. He gazed curiously into Mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father is a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Stuart, your father, when his first wife Amalia Alborn died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. The nobleman took a liking to me. May his name be forever forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honored his lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with low-born progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nor where to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. When Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that at that very moment the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me there was nothing you could do to make that detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and my baby Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down Mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer. Caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he is still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors we heard about the Brantes all over Amazot. It was only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brante bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation. And now the nobles' families have all but forgotten about that scandal, thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she is telling you? My son, I'm not telling you this just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. Gloria, she can never be a Brante. Even if the elder Brantes agreed, the news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of high society. And if that were to happen, Stuart, they would see even your birth as illegitimate. Mother sighs heavily. What I told you just now is something you have to know, son. Jeez. You're about to enter adult life. By my lot, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But may I ask you a question? Now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? Abso-fucking-lutely! Filled with determination, you assure Mother that Gloria is and will always be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brante, too. You want her to be a part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Amazot say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Stuart, if you only knew how happy that would make me. To have our family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much. A home and education, his care and advice. The Brante bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then, you hear Gloria carefully knock at the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Stuart, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. Yep, that's about right. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Brante family they have given her. You hope they can hear her. Yeah, that's about right. Family unity? Nope, no family unity. Drat. Oh, another world event. You are 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priest and why the clergy is the only one of the 3 estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other 2 estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard all this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he had just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply, about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arm. His hair is ablaze and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic. Real magic, just like in the books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There is a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from his bench, fire in his eyes and sparks on his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his fingers, and the books of Visacius on the desks turns into pillars of flame. He laughs and raises his arms, and the curtains catch fire. He's going full-blown Carrie. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames, and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps toward the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. He's going to burn the whole school down! Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor. Even through his clothes, his body sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Thomas by the shoulders with his burning hands. Thomas howls but stays put, and knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor, silent. Soon 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver. The Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from its evil grasp. The next day you are forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the Empire. Blessed by the twins themselves, the Emperor's reign continues into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city, and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that Grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home for the holiday. They say families should celebrate the day of anointment together. You could benefit from your older brother's company. With his noble education, Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon, Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and adoring Gloria, he is still Grandfather's double, but he is more grown up now and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the Empire. It is full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You've read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the kitchen, not in the sitting room, not in the attic. I heard she wanted to seek after the ruins of Charmelanides' palace. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Charmelanides, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in its sheath. Get ready, Stuart. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your brother head outside. You are confused by Stefan's actions. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her? Stefan notices your expression. Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but Father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of our own. You are a Brante too, noble or not, which means it is your duty to aid me. The ruins of Charmelanides' palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. Need to rehydrate. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts. "Look at the lass, sitting here rhyming words together. She thinks she's all noble. But don't you worry, you little... Shh. You little tart. We're gonna teach you your place." One of the louds spits at Gloria as she lies there. "Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts." They respond with mocking laughter. Stefan draws his sword. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice that he is the only one-armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. "Stay by my side. Don't let them flank me." Stefan's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He is outnumbered. For the moment, you hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run for the nearby. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. You know what? I'm gonna do that. Because he has a good idea. He's got the sword, I don't. Stefan's firm voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. It takes a moment to grab a stick, and then you are at Stefan's back, angrily swinging at the lads as they try to bring him down. One of the lads lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with the stick, and he falls down right at Stefan's feet. His sword flashes. The blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes. Blood starts pouring out onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stefan pulls the sword out, his face an inscrutable mask, and returns to his fencing stance. You were stunned to see Stefan take another man's life so easily and effortlessly, like picking his own teeth. The thugs look like they are about to flee. There is rage and confusion on their faces. They never expected the young nobleman to use that sword. Stefan just scoffs at them. "Low-born scum, that's all you are! This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up. We're going home." He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stefan. Your back is against the wall now. They hit you hard. In the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head. Then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in your bed. Stefan is in the armchair next to you reading a book. He's alive! With left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stefan looks up from the book. "Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup." "I'm impressed. We fought like an army. The noble orders, the commoner obeys, all according to our lots. We defended the family's honor together. No, brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage, not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes part of his family's legacy, flowing in the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like the people of the low-born lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but it's what it takes to be a nobleman. You understand what I'm talking about? There is approval in your brother's eyes, for the first time in a long while. It was a pleasure to fight side by side, brother. Yeah, I figured that'd be the case. Oh, only -5. Nice. I thought that'd be 10. A Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of low-born thugs assaulted Stefan Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as lesser death releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stefan and Grandfather decide to stay in Azat until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. He asks Father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin gods also made the empire in all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it, and so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offense, there is no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. This means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen and her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. You put away your schoolbooks and ask what's bothering her. The trial is tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too as an eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started because of me. But Sir Robert is even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Oh. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought Stefan standing up for me finally meant something. Maybe I'll become part of the family, but no. Everything is back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. Sir Robert believes that only bring trouble. Why did he take me into this house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. It's Father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There is an exhausted look about him. Son, you will be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The low-born men insulted Stefan first and then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Do not let me down. We're all counting on you. Oh, god damn. You recalled the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawled under the feet of those cackling thugs. Her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's all noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't Grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she is part of the family? But if you do what Father tells you... There we go. The trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated and you cannot predict how the trial will end. Which is more important to you? What is right or what is just? Yeah. Coming from him is going to sound a lot better. You look Father straight in the eye and tell him what you think. You are not going to bear false witness in court. He is a judge himself. How can I make you lie to Sir Elborn? And what of Gloria? Is she not a Brante too? Does she not deserve justice? Maybe Grandfather is right, and she is just a freeloader who deserved nothing but shame. If so, then how come Father agreed to take her into his home and under his protection? Saying this to Father is tough. Deep inside you, pray he hears no weakness in your voice and he sees no blood rushing to your cheeks. But it seems he is listening to you intently. The wrinkles on his forehead grow deeper as his fingers stammer out a staccato against the armrest. This is going to be tough, son. But you're right. You are right. I took Gloria into my home, and so I must protect her like my own daughter. This was my decision, and I must stand by it. I will speak with Stefan in the morning. Now I pray your grandfather never hears of my change of heart. The day comes. The trial takes place in the lesser hall of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You are the first to testify to the court. You tell the court the truth about that night. How the thugs humiliated Gloria. How Stefan and you came to help her. And how Stefan defended his half-sister. Out of the corner of your eye, you watched grandfather's face grow red, yet he remained silent. There are confused whispers in the hall. The commoners on trial cry out, "It's the truth! Gloria was reciting poetry, and they simply told her she was defying her lot." The situation has changed. By this account, Stefan was not acting in defense of himself or another. He merely assaulted them first in order to retaliate against those who insulted his half-sister. I will say, though, no he didn't, because they charged at him. They could have just left. He did not. He drew his weapon first, yes, but he did not strike first. He did not make the first swing. You spread your feet to stand firm and inhale before you speak next. You ask the hall, is it not a nobleman's duty to honor his family name? Gloria does not have the Brante name, but your father took her into his home. Therefore, it was Stefan's duty to protect her, as he would have protected any of you. Contemptuous chuckles rush through the courtroom. You have just reminded the city of father's shameful second marriage. Stefan is to testify next. He reluctantly confirms your testimony, glancing at father and grandfather all the while. His arm in the sling is his main argument. Stefan wanted the commoners to stop insulting Gloria, yet in the end the commoners were the first to assault him. After a short recess, Sir Elborn returns and rises to deliver his sentence. The court of Anazot finds you guilty of assaulting Stefan Brante, a nobleman who stood in defense of the honor of Gloria, a member of his household. All 4 defendants are sentenced to true death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel a gust sweep through the hall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. That very power has been invoked by this sentence. And by that very sentence, the lives of the 4 young men are literally forfeit for all eternity. The gallows await. Stefan stands in the front row. Father stands next to him. The wood creaks. The trapdoors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, wheezing and reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Grandfather's silence ends at home. He screams at you and father, at Stefan and Gloria. This trial is a disgrace. His screams are punctuated by the thudding of his walking stick against the floor. Father says they had to defend their family. It would have truly been a disgrace if they had shirked their responsibilities. Stefan excuses himself to bandage his arm in order to stay out of the argument. Gloria is quiet but glowing. You stay quiet too. It is all over now. I think the better argument for father would have been taking the tact of, I was not going to suborn perjury. That might have been the sounder argument against grandfather. It is all over now. Nobody bullies Gloria on the streets anymore. Those 4 commoners are dead forever. Their families were taught a cruel lesson. So will it be with anyone who dares to raise his hand against a nobleman. Yep, saw that coming. Well, we are still tarnished, not completely disgraced. +1 to both nobility and spirituality. Nice. $14. 2 more years to go after this, because I do need to get to bed. Agony. Stefan leaves soon after the trial, alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregor is ill and needs rest. Several months go by, and it becomes clear that grandfather will not recover. The eldest Brante is mostly bedridden now. On some days he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he does get out of bed, the house grows empty. The servants hide, Mother locks herself in her chambers, you and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. Your grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His son betrayed him and let him down. Oh, how the Brante family has lost its honor. Again and again you hear grandfather knocking at mother's door, screaming that it is all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It is late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty save for you, Nathan, Gloria, mother, and grandfather in his bed. Father has left the capital on business. That was a little prolonged on that sentence. You are engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see light in the hallway. Grandfather, what could he want in the middle of the night? You peek into the hallway once he has passed. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads for the door to mother's chambers. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. You foul commoner. I have to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin. You and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why, oh, why didn't I? Please, Sir Brante, I beg of you. Silence! You will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all lower-born filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake. For my son's sake. For my sake. I need to eradicate this low-born filth. The twins. They're calling for me now. I can feel it. I can feel it. I beg of you, please have mercy. Mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed, crying. Please, just let me warn the children, I beg of you, Sir Brante. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this, Stuart. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I see only my sins now, and a sinner I am. A sinner! The twins, they forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away! Mother is crying. Grandfather. Thank fuck! Grandfather is still looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hand shakes as he clutches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he's right? What if that is the only way for his soul to find salvation? There is no going back now. You have but a moment to act. Stop him. Even if it costs me that third death, stop him. You look at Grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug. Not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hands, but you still hold on to it safely. You low-born scum! You ruined everything! You're every bit like your mother! Enraged, he takes a swing and you swing and you squeeze your eyes shut. But he has not hit you. Instead, there is a deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye, just in time to see him collapse, all his strength fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Another heavy exhalation. The contempt is gone. There's only fear now. Grandfather's eyes open wide, almost in surprise. He exhales. His eyes grow dim. Mother is there whispering a prayer. She is shaking violently. You pour the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants. They carry the body away. It does not disappear. True death has found him. He will never return. You spend the rest of the night with Mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many, many nights afterwards, she keeps seeing Grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eye. Yeah, fuck you, asshole. Father returns from return the morning after. He is unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet. Not the looming, heavy sort of quiet of the past few months, but the calm relief you all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brante, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. Thank fuck for that. Well worth the willpower loss. The night of Grandfather's death shook your family to the core. Yet no matter how it happened, your grandfather, Gregor Brante, is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in Grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Laurie and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. Yeah, I should have known that that wouldn't be enough. And yet the house has become calm and quiet in his passing. But there is one more thing that must be done. The final farewell. It weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Nathan. For Stefan, Nathan, and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles or those who may become nobles may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks the silence when you finally reach the door. Your grandfather built this crypt. And now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever. The first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now to hold the sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honor his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brante dynasty. Stefan perks up at your father's words. His hands still clutch Grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds Grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to recompose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshankable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the Empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and he never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family a noble by the sword so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets out a bitter chuckle as he said this. Stefan glares at Father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born of Father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved. Yet we all must know that he fought for the future he believed in to the very end. He would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of the nobility. Stefan still glares at Father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around Grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let your blood flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing, for his blood flows first in our blood tide. He will respond to you. You are a part of him, and he is part of you. With a quick motion, Father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as Father did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante blood tide. You, a low-born child, a child who is still a commoner. Yeah, no. Yeah. You recall? Yep, I defied the lash and took the nobleman's sacrament. Remember that fateful day when you were 8? The day when you tried to choose a different lot for yourself. You violated the ritual in the temple, kissed the sword, and against all odds you said you had the right to be a nobleman. And now you must confirm this right. You must join the Brante blood tide. You grasp the dagger firmly, then hold the blade to your skin and quickly drag it across your palm. Drops of your blood fall into the duct, flowing further into the crypt as they combine with the blood of your father and brother. The fresh wound burns on your hand. What are you doing, Stuart? Why did you have to take these two along, Father? This ritual is for noblemen and nobles, and you two aren't even noblemen. His eyes meet Father's stern gaze. No one is to interrupt the sacrament. Indignant as he is, Stefan falls silent. You hand the dagger to Nathan. Your young brother hesitates. Father offers him help, but Nathan shakes his head. Finally, he makes a cut, and Nathan's blood joins yours in the duct of the crypt. The deed is done. It is time to close the sarcophagus. The lid falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then suddenly, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. So you think you're some mind-ascending son of a low-born woman? Very well. Time will tell how much nobility you have within. But know this. I am your ancestor. You are my flesh and blood. I'll be watching you always, and my shadow will follow you forever. Do not let me down, boy. Grandfather's voice falls silent. You glance at your father and brothers, astonished. Save for Stefan, everyone else is dumbfounded as well. The ritual is complete. Stefan reverently kisses the grip of your grandfather's sword and places it in the alcove above the sarcophagus. Once all is done, you leave the crypt together. Cool, fresh wind blows in your face as you return to the surface. Stefan storms off to the carriage, fuming. Father stops halfway to the carriage and hugs Nathan and you briefly. Now your blood belongs to the dynasty of Sir Gregor Brante as well. Forbidden Love. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Another day of school is behind you. You are now wandering your district, taking your time before going home. It is getting dark. Soon you are walking past the splendid mansion of Count del Velasco, one of Magra's richest landlords. You hear a familiar voice from the other side of the iron fence. It is Stefan's voice. It is followed by the sound of a young lady laughing. You peek through the fence and into the mansion's garden. And indeed, there you see your elder brother, dressed like he is going to meet the Emperor himself. He is currently busy helping a pretty young lady out of the window. She locks him in an emotional embrace. You recognize her. Maria Velasco, Count del Velasco's daughter. And as the whole city knows, she is already betrothed to another young nobleman from a far more illustrious family. Oh, Maria, I thought I would help you come down to earth from your heavenly abode, but your very touch brings me to the heavens. Picks the Count's daughter up and holds her in the air. She laughs almost imperceptibly and kisses him on the cheek. But then Stefan takes her by the chin and turns her to face him. Their lips join in a kiss. A flurry of emotion washes over you as you watch it happen. Stefan is putting the reputation of his entire family at risk. Acting so frivolously with the Count's daughter may turn the Count's influence against all the Brantes. And Stefan always speaks so highly of noble bearing and composure and family honor. Stefan's face is glowing with joy. Your older brother. He is happy, truly happy. You have never seen Stefan like this, as his arms hold the Count's daughter in a tender embrace, so gently as though he fears to hurt her. and Maria reciprocates his feelings. Must you really rob them of their secret joy? If I can, I'm gonna leverage it to... Yeah. If you ever speak to him about this, no one else must hear it. You wait by the gate, stay patiently until Stefan decides to return from his escapades. He is startled when he finally notices you're standing by the gate. Yeah. Family unity. Even if we're disgraced. What are you doing here at this late hour, Stuart? Is there something you wish to tell me? You confessed to Stefan that you saw him today in the El Velasco garden with the Count's daughter. This affair puts both families' honor at risk. Yet you say you are happy for him. You can see how much he cares for her. No matter what, it is worth the risk. Stefan can trust you with the secret, you are sure. The two of you will keep it together. Stefan reacts to you with anger at first, but your supportive words calm him down. You've got all the makings of a professional spy. But you're right. The risk is too great. It will not go amiss. You are not a nobleman yet, but I hope your word is worth my trust. From that day on, you help Stefan and Maria avoid attention on many occasions. You even have to distract El Velasco's manservants and lead them away in a wild goose chase through the district. In the end, you are never caught, and you and your brother yet another night with his beloved. They are both aware that the days of their hidden love are numbered. But how will your escapades affect the family's reputation? You and your brother agree. Whatever happens, happens. Young love is worth the risk. I'm surprised that... Stefan's disgrace. Oh, yeah. An adult... Oh, shit. Okay, I'm getting a fair few optional events. The day is sunny, scorching and hot. You are sitting in the yard in the shade of a tree, studying books about the twins' great descent. You hear shy, quiet steps. There is no need to look back. You know from the sound that it is Nathan. Your younger brother also sits in the shade of the tree, yet he is quiet. He is not tugging at your clothes this time. That is unusual. He is just sitting by your side, breathing loudly. This is about to be that one, isn't it? You tear yourself away from the book and look at your brother. Nathan is deep in thought. He seems uneasy. He is fidgeting with the symbol of the twins, a cross inside a circle, the lash bound around the sword. It is Nathan's pendant. He wears it all the time, but not today. The silence wears on. Nathan takes a deep breath, like he is about to speak, but he does not. His face grows even grimmer. He looks unusually hurt and bitter. At last, Nathan gathers his courage. He takes another deep breath. His eyes narrow. His hand clutches the encircled cross. Tell me, Stuart, the twins, they hate me, don't they? Nathan's voice is quiet yet firm. The world falls silent around you. Not even a gust of wind can be heard. It is as if everything is waiting for your answer. You look at your brother again, confused. Nathan, the youngest brother, the most unassuming child. He is quiet, obedient, and thoughtful. He's been your responsibility almost since his birth, yet he has never been a burden. Father was always aloof around him, and Mother was too tired to even smile. Even Grandfather seemed to avoid Nathan with his scorn. He just treated your little brother like a piece of trash. He never called him by name and always winced at the sight of him, perhaps because he looked so much like Mother. But is it true that the twin gods had no love for your little brother? Surely the twins have enough even for little Nathan, do they not? Nathan was born a commoner like you. His lot is suffering. Everyone is tested by the twins before their true death. No one can expect mercy along their path. He was born the youngest child in your family. That is his trial. Should Nathan persevere and bear the burden he was dealt, he shall yet reach the peak of the pillar when his time runs out. There is hope. There is hope in Nathan's eyes as he looks at you. Guiding others in matters of faith is the clergy's lot. You are no priest, yet you cannot stay quiet. You say his pain, you see his trepidation, and so you will tell him what you think. What you are about to say may be a turning point in his life. You tell your brother that the twins are more than just law and will. They are also love. So writes Azacius, the disciple of the elder, and so says Mother. And both you and him were brought into this world through their providence. It is true that their love is quite unlike the love humans have for one another. They cannot forgive others unconditionally like mother and father would. Your parents love you no matter what, but they are unlike them. And yet the twins bear no hatred, for they descended into our world and granted us knowledge of how to live. And this is a great treasure indeed. The twins put us all to the test with the hardships they send. They watch how we follow our lots. And if Nathan suffers and feels no love from them, then that means they believe in him and know he will endure this suffering. They know he will humbly accept it and let it pass through him. Let it purify. Oof. Damn it. That might not be the best. That might not be the best outcome there. Will it be the next year, finally? Maybe not. Good lord. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words relayed from the hereafter keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Thomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes, as you walk along that road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes and the terrifying, thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents entered a rich Arcanian family, the Ottons, as a servant. The sun is set. The moon shines pale in the dark sky. Thomas is ill, so you decide to visit him, tell the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Arcanian. You overhear voices. Sir Otten! The girl's not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from home too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must, but bring my servant back to me. She's here. Sophia ran away from an Arcanian? How can this be? There's only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Moral House, 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house built of yellow brick has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You have recognized them even after another 4 years. Sophia is grown up. She is almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She is not the easygoing girl that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Oh, it's you, Stuart. Be quiet, they're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otten. I may be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. Just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth as she says this. There's a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve. They went and alerted the Ottons. I don't want to be the target of their ire, but you aren't going to tip them off, are you? Barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of Otton's servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed, and impatient. You've already heard this voice today. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven and you will go back where you were. You know it. And if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. The hilt of the young Arcanian's sword bashes against the door. Shit. Oh, fuck me. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act against the Arcanian's orders? you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman. Oh boy. You pull yourself together and walk slowly to a half-collapsed doorway. Sophia stays behind. The tall young Archnean stares you down, his condescending smile dripping with scorn. In your most assertive voice, you answer his question. You will find no fugitive girl in this house. What are you doing here, boy? I wasn't speaking to you. Out of my way. Auden needs no permission to enter, so he steps inside. You stand in his way. You've already assured the young Archnean there is no one else inside. You have done him a great service. What makes him doubt your words? Why, you lowlife! How dare you stand in Archnean's way? You must have lives to spare. Auden backhands you with immense strength, enough to send you flying. The Archnean draws his sword, rises into the air. Then one of his men shouts, "Sir, there she is!" The Archnean turns around and briskly walks away. Sophia used your distraction to climb out the window in the back. You jump to your feet and escape the house in the same way. Sophia's slight silhouette is gaining distance far ahead. One of Auden's men is chasing her down, ready to catch her at any moment. But then, something unbelievable happens. Sophia lets out a dreadful scream, and the air around her sizzles with golden sparks. Auden's man falls to the ground, clutching his head. Sophia freezes for a second, as though uncertain of what she just did. What was that? Auden screams at her right next to you. So that's how it is, eh? The wench is a witch! Seize her! Magic? Sophia is a witch? Sophia's silhouette disappears down an alleyway. Auden's men give her chase, but they will never find her in the dark, sprawling district. You watch her go. Will you ever see her again? The runaway girl becomes the talk of the town. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city. The Audens are furious. After this sudden appearance, she disappears from your life once more. You will not see her again until much, much later. Took a while to hit 15. Oh, I'm starting to fade here. Should have done this earlier. You're about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching your food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders and her hands clench into fists. No! Don't you dare leave home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that. You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis. He is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard Mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear the sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now, surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks in the estate. There is barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd is gathered around the roots of the very tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can see and hear everything better, and not a moment too soon. From the roof you see a tall, silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree, dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank. Yet he stands like a lone wolf before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind, the Open Book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hands up to the sky, and the entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Isatius. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. But how can we so blindly believe that we truly follow their will by following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Isatius fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Archnean, low-born or noble, must find their lot and their way to the gods on their own. For From now on, we will seek the gods on the accounts of their own lives, and their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own. The crowd at the silver tree listens to the patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister. Her eyes glisten with tears as she hears Fotis' words. Then suddenly a hoarse cry rises from the crowd. If there are no loss, does that mean the nobles are going to till the fields and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform, a dirty beggar dressed in rags. A knife flashes in his hand. The blade slices. Blood starts spreading from Fotis' throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he had stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. A few moments of stunned silence, and then the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guards try to restore order to the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wound. The nobles draw their swords. Dogs are barking. The crowd is pushing and shoving. Children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof, you see the moment when people start trampling each other. Howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one has noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in her room. You do not discuss the things you have just seen. They are too frightening. But your parents discuss every little detail of the blood-stained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and the Archduke's guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Fotis has died a true death, and never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my child. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there's no hope for you to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of great Archnean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Fotis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before... Yeah, he did not. But there's little hope for that. Last night. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friend Thomas will go there with you to try his luck in the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for the long journey. Remember, son, there's only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge and fervor to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, and as my late father was before me. And who knows? Maybe one day you will be the one to write the name Brante in the blue book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then Mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes. Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brante family. Your second son bears the favor of the twins. From the path of the priest is a worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. Just don't become a snoot like Stefan and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. Barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go, Stuart. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There's no way you can stay, you say. When you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all your stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned, all your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where Mother used to read your fairy tales. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. Drat. I'm turning it off for this one. I want to go to the nobility. You find Father in his study reading a book. He's been like this for as long as you can remember. Always at his massive desk, surrounded by books and papers and letters, reading or writing. You enter the study. Father looks up from his book and gives you an inquisitive glance. Why not spend the night with him before you leave? Maybe he can tell you stories about how to turn in his own studies or give you fatherly advice. Father smirks at that as though he's just plotting something. Have a seat, son. He reaches into a drawer and produces a decanter filled with rich golden liquid. Barley whiskey. Nobleman's drink. I think it would be good for you to try it. Father pulls out 2 glasses and pours a little of the liquid into each of them. You take a glass and bring it to your mouth. The whiskey stings your lips and palate. Father clearly savors the drink. Father tells you a long story about his studies at the Imperial College. He had a study among the sons of the richest nobles from all corners of the land. He was by commoner back then, and he had his fair share of hardships. When you ask him about living in the capital, he says it was difficult, dangerous, and full of temptation. You'll have your share of time in high society as well. Of the company of nobles won't lead you astray, son. You didn't go to a boarding school like your elder brother, but I believe a good education and a good family still stand for something. Now, what else can I tell you before you leave? Father recalls the balls held in the capital when he was a youth. He even stands from the desk and shows you a couple moves. Your dancing was incredibly modest, all bows and sidesteps, no touching between the dance partners. But then again, he chuckles, those were the days when a fair lady could steal your heart with a single glance. You nod. If anything, you know that feeling by now. After he mentions dancing, he starts speaking of something he has never mentioned to you before. Stefan's late brother and late mother and his first wife, Amalia Elborn. You listen to his every word, surprised by the show of trust. Amalia Elborn was the noble bird of prey of Anazat, and the ballrooms were her hunting ground. Everyone thought they could tame her. Her grandfather saw her just once, and then he was off to Baron Elborn to negotiate the marriage. I was impressed by her, and I was so proud of myself, and yet I expected Amalia to be reborn after childbirth. But it did not happen. When I recall it now after so many years, I see that the gods arranged it this way. Otherwise, I would have never started a family with your mother. Oh, how much I had to suffer for marrying Lydia. She alone is the true heart of our family. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip. Before he leaves for his bedroom, Father embraces you tightly. I'm so proud you're an adult now, son. You are capable of achieving so much. Always remember that. You get into bed, your head spinning slightly. This midnight talk with your father was about your future or his past. Regardless, it will remain in your memory for years to come. You leave the family home for a long time. The future awaits you in Eterna, the capital. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there, in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anazat. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. Except for a couple times. You felt the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school in the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed firsthand events that will be remembered by history for all time. All of this is yours now, forever. You saw death, lesser death followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace, lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age, and yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Thomas taught you many things: how to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Thomas is walking to the same carriage as you are with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you will be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? Alrighty. And at this point, I am going to end the stream, so thank you all for joining me, and I will see you... I'm not sure when, but yeah, Whew, this was a bit long. Oh, actually, I think this one's going to be about the same length, so it should be about a 2-hour stream. Peacetime, I'm thinking I'll have to divvy up.
Leaving my hometown behind, I set out for the capital of the Empire. There, I would discover my role in society.
The driver flicks the reins. The carriage slowly sways as it starts moving away from your home. You stick your head out the window and wave goodbye to your family. Nathan is running after the carriage with Thomas's younger brother in tow, tears glistening in their eyes. It hurts to leave your home behind. Ahead lies Eterna, the imperial capital. You have often read about it and heard stories from Father and Stefan. It is a city that surpasses Anazat enormously in terms of size, age, wealth, and beauty. But what is it really like? What kind of life awaits you there? What will you learn there, and where will your actions take you? You pass the old walls of Anazat. Somewhere within them is the old fortress you and Thomas built together out of old wooden planks, now left to take to the care of your younger brothers. You two are adults now. Perhaps your fortress will crumble, now abandoned. Or perhaps your brothers will continue what you started. Who knows? You look down at your hands, knuckles covered in scars from street antics, fingers stained with ink. Mother gave you a cross to wear away from home, and now you can feel its warmth against your chest. Your family counts on you, even though they all wish a different future for you. But they're behind you now, in Anazat. From this point on, only you will decide which road you take. This is the journey you're prepared for throughout your entire childhood. Ahead of you lie many years in the capital, years that will determine your fate and your place in society. Oh, okay. Need a value between 10 and 16, so... Okay, that's not bad. So, diplomacy. Manipulation. Yeah, that is not me. Theology. Meh. Scheming. Yeah, that's about right. Ooh. Okay, actually. Most important to the judge. Conspirator. Inquisitor. Oh, judge. Conspirator. Oh, wow. Ooh, I might have to go past the Path of the Peace just on that one. Okay, and this is where we will pick up from next.